Hello everybody and welcome back to this new episode of Textile with Alberto. Yes indeed, I am Alberto and today we're going to talk about wool. Let's say guys, everybody has some wool hats or wool sweater in your house. So yeah, we'll see a little bit of history, a little bit of production and as usual pros and cons, comparison with the cotton. I have to tell you guys that I won't talk about merino wool. Merino wool is a specific type of wool that comes basically from Australia, and that kind of wool actually deserves another video, so I'll make another video in a couple of months maybe. Today we're going to talk only about conventional wool, but stick with me, I think you will like what I got for you. Hey everybody, I am Alberto and I'm a textile technician that lives and works in Italy. I have decided to make this YouTube channel to share all my textile and leather knowledge with you, but without further ado, let's see the definition of wool. What is it? According to the European regulation of textile fibers, wool is basically a fiber from sheep's or lamb's fleeces, ovis aries, or a mixture of the fibers from sheep's or lamb's fleeces and the hairs of animals listed in number 2. Let's have a quick look at number 2. Number 2 actually includes alpaca, llama, camel, cashmere and a lot of other animals. I actually have prepared for you guys a list of all the animals that can make the wool. So as you can see from the picture, there is a ton of different animals that actually can make wool. I'm sure you don't know it, but also horse can make wool. Basically, all the wool coming from the hair of the animals can be considered as wool. Since wool comes basically from the hair of the animal, we put that under the animal fibers since it's a protein fiber. So it can be considered as silk basically. Also, if we have a quick look at the microscope, we can see that the wool is completely different from silk. Actually, I want you guys that you focus on these scales of the wool. They are indeed called scales, and remember those because we will talk about them later. Anyway, I've said enough about the definition of wool. Let's start with the history. Wool is one of the most ancient and old fibers known in Europe. Yes, indeed, wool has always been known in Europe. And if you think about it, wool, linen and leather were the three things that basically were all the Roman Empire. Why wool is so common and it used to be used also by the Roman Empire? Basically because wool comes from the animal's hair, so it was quite easy to remove the hair and to make some kind of fiber, to make some kind of clothing. Anyway, after the Roman Empire, also during the Middle Age, the wool demand and wool production was quite steady, quite constant during the years. Wool demand was also steady during the first and the second industrial revolution. So thanks to new machineries and in the wool mills, the wool demand was really very steady. Until the 20th century. What happened in the 20th century? Basically in 1966 there was a big drop of the wool demand of the 40%, guys. 40% is really much. Why did it happen? Basically because in the 20th century synthetic fibers were invented like polyester or nylon, and they had great performance and cost even less than wool. Fortunately, in 1970, the superwash treatment was invented, so wool demand started to increase a little bit, and now it's quite steady also in 2021. What is superwash treatment? Basically is a treatment that can avoid the felting and the shrinkage of the wool. Enough with the history, let's have a quick look of the producers. Who are the biggest and the most important producers in the world? If we have a quick look on the map over here, we can see that the most important producer of wool in the world is Australia, 25%. It's quite much, guys. Australia is the most important producer of merino wool. So in this case, wool is considered also the normal conventional wool and merino wool. Then we can find something also in India, United Kingdom, Turkey, South Africa, and something also in Argentina. Also Peru and Chile are quite important because they export a lot of vicuña wool and also llama, which is, guys, trust me, vicuña is one of the best fibers ever made. Anyway, I said enough, let's see now the production of the wool. Wool yarns and wool woven are not so easy to make, guys, because if you consider that wool comes from animals' hair and animals are quite different from each other because they have different weight, different age, different diseases also, so the wool and the hair is very difficult to standardize. First, you have to breed the sheep in a farm, and from the farm there is the shearing process. What is the shearing process? Basically, twice a year normally you have to remove the hair of the animal. You actually cut like the beard, like your hair. You have to wash them and to put them into a wool mill. One of the most common questions is it true that removing all the hair from the animal, is it bad for the animal? The answer is no. Actually, it's a very good thing for the animal because it changes the hair twice a year. It's basically the same thing that you do for your hedge when you trim it. When you trim the hedge, the plant will flourish afterwards. And the same thing happens basically with the animals, with the sheep. Then after the shearing process, you actually have to classify the wool, press them into wool bales, and you take them to the wool mills. What happens in wool mills? Two things you have to do on the wool. The first one is scouring. You have to scour them to remove all the scales of the wool fibers. Do you remember the picture that you see before, guys? Actually, you have to remove the scales because due to the scale, the wool fells and shrinks. If you take, for example, a wool bale not scoured and you do like this with like a bowl, you will see that shrinks and fells, and that's a bad thing to happen. We should avoid that. And the second thing that you need to do is carbonizing. What is carbonizing? It's specific for wool, and it's a process that you take the wool bales, the wool fibers into acid bath, and with this acid you remove all the roots, the seeds and other vegetable components. Once you have performed the scouring and the carbonizing, all the rest is basically the same as silk and cotton. If you don't know anything about textile supply chain, I'll suggest you guys to see this video over here. Anyway, let's have a look now, a quick look at the applications of wool. Wool actually is used for clothing. Everybody has some kind of wool hats or wool sweater. Wool is also naturally for carpeting, upholstery, insulation, downs and technical textiles, normally in blend. I'll tell you guys one fun story. Actually, wool is also used as a covering for piano hammers. Yes, it is used for piano hammers to absorb odors and noise in heavy machinery and stereo speakers. Anyway, let's see all the pros and cons of the wool. First of all, wool is a very great thermal regulator. That's why you use wool hats or sweater or scarves during winter, because they keep you warm basically, even though it's basically -5 degrees outside. Secondly, it's very smooth. If you touch the cotton, it's very smooth, it's very soft. It has a really good hand. And third, it absorbs a lot of water. This is the reason of why it is used also for technical purposes and technical textiles. The cons of wool, probably you know them. The first one is that wool shrinks and fells. And this is a great downside. Actually, I'll say this, it has been happening to everybody. If you put the wool into the washing machine and you remove it afterwards, you will notice, you will find out that it's been shrunk and it's been felted. This is the reason of why in 99% of the cases when you have a 100% wool garment or cashmere or alpaca, it's always suggested to hand wash or wash at 30 degrees. Because the temperature, the heat actually kills the wool fibers. The second cons of the wool is pilling. What is pilling? This happens basically due to the rubbing. If you rub over and over again the wool yarns, they just started to create these little balls and they are called pilling. The third cons is breathability. Wool is not as breathable as cotton. That's why you use wool in winter and not in summer. The fourth cons of wool is that basically wool can cause allergies, because if you have sensitive skins, it's suggested to use 100% cotton t-shirt and garments in general, not dyed and just scoured. That's it for today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the video and enjoyed the content of this video. I will leave you with a very fun curiosity. I live in Italy, and in Italy there is a farm that breeds llama and alpaca. It's located in Trentino. I will leave the details below. And it's fun because alpaca and llama basically come from Peru, Chile and the South America. They have found their habitat here in Trentino near the Dolomites. Anyway, thank you very much for the attention. You will find my email below, so if you have any kind of comments to share or any kind of questions, I'm at disposal naturally. And yeah, that's it. As usual, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.